And Tim, just so you know, once Steve hits the record button, anything you say can and probably will be used. So,
Yeah, I've
I-
heard that before.
He's a self-published author and a huge fan of genre fiction. He's a booktube phenomenon. He has a new book out called Nesh and Other Necromancies, available now from Jeff Bezos' bookstore. He is the host and the talent of Secret Fire Books. His name is T.H. Brandt, though there are some who call him Tim. What did I leave out of that you would like to add by way of introduction?
Nothing. It was perfect.
I was thinking maybe we could workshop it a little. Do we like phenomenon or should it be sensation? Like YouTube sensation, booktube sensation? I don't know. We can work
I
on
like
that.
sensation. That's
Okay.
a little spicy,
Sensational. You're definitely sensational. We are really, really excited to have you on.
yeah.
You and the other, there seems to be a little community of booktubers, right?
Mhm.
And you guys get together sometimes. Paul and I thought it would be years before we became cool enough to have you guys on. And now here we go, right? So I love the way everybody supports each other and everything. So thanks for supporting us by being on. Appreciate it.
Of course, you guys were as cool. You guys were cool as soon as you started because you had the repertoire, or you had like the rapport going on already. You had the whole relationship between you guys going from the beginning. So it felt so natural watching those first few videos, being like, oh man, these guys got it down already.
Hey, Steve, did you by chance hit record?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Yes, I did.
All right. Let's just keep going. Forget introductions. Everybody knows who we are. So, Tim, what got you into BookTube?
Well, I started back in I want to say it was like either 2019 or 2020. I got back into reading like nonstop. For a while, I had been kind of dry because I don't know. I think I had like some kind of bad experience reading a book I really didn't like, and it turned me off to it. And so I, like around that time, I got back into reading. And
did that have
of course,
anything to do with like the lockdown?
Yeah, the lockdown definitely helped. So once
Okay.
once that happened and no one else had anything to do, I was like, well, I
Yes.
have a giant bookcase full of books that I haven't read. So I got back into reading, and of course, when you really start getting into a hobby, you try to look up, other people who are into the same kind of hobby. So I went to YouTube, started looking things up, and for a while I was like, okay, this is cool. There are people who talk about fantasy and science fiction on YouTube. And then after, I want to say like the first 5 or 6 months, I kind of hated BookTube because the channels I was watching were just talking to the same like 6 or 7 authors over and over again.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I hear the names Joe Abercrombie or Fonda Lee one more time, I'm going to throw my computer out the window.
I'm going to write this down.
Yeah.
That next week's episode.
Right. Yeah. Suddenly Steve reads nothing else but those.
Right. But yeah, it was just like, if I hear someone review Brandon Sanderson's new novel one more time, I've had enough.
Yeah.
No one's talking about the stuff I'm really interested in. No one's talking about Conan or Elric or all this like old pulpy sci-fi and fantasy that I was into. And it turns out I didn't have to look that hard, because later I found out, there's a whole slew of people that are talking about this kind of thing. Yeah. But at the time I was like, well, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so I put out some really short little Conan review in 2023, I think, late 2023, where I reviewed a novella by Chuck Dixon. He'd written his own Conan novella, and it was okay. But I did a nice little like 6-minute review of that, and that was the first video I put up. And only then did I figure out, oh, hey, there is a bunch of people talking about this kind of things. Then I discovered, Michael K. Vaughan, Grammaticus Books, all those guys. They eventually led me into our little quagmire of YouTube, where we all read nothing but old pulpy stuff, and it was all just kind of downhill from there.
Yeah, no matter how hard Steve tries to pull out, I managed to pull him back in. So yeah, that's the way it was with me. Like I found, I was doing during 2020, during the lockdown, I started reading, H.P. Lovecraft again because I had a hard time dealing with him when I was much younger. And I thought, well, I got nothing better to do but figure it out. And then I started watching videos of people talking about it. And obviously, one of the first ones that pops up is Michael K. Vaughan. And from there, I found Nick, and then the algorithm did its thing, and I found all you guys, and then the Ebes came along, and yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
Well, one of the things that me and Steve were talking about, because we're messaging each other constantly, is Steve was talking about how he can't get over the fact that talking about you, he goes, this guy writes an essay every week.
Right. Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah, sometimes I'll like when we're doing other types of shows, like I love history, and I'm nowhere near an expert or anything, but I love it. I love learning about it. So sometimes we'll do a show on a particular event. And I'm like, I'm going to write this one out. I'm going to write an essay,
Yeah.
I'm going to script it out, and I'll spend hours, right? And then I'll do a read through it. It'll be like 4.5 minutes. And I'm like, and then you could do a 15-minute, 20-minute video entirely. And maybe it's not, maybe you just, when you're talking, maybe you just sound like you wrote an essay. You don't sound like you're reading. I can say that much. So do you write out each show usually, or how does that go?
It really depends. If I'm doing something more short form, like when I do my Random Book Wednesday reviews, that's just off the cuff. I'm just talking about what I remember from whatever book I'm talking about. If I'm doing more of a series review, like especially with the more recent Elric novel stuff that I've been doing, I script that stuff out.
Yeah.
I have a ton of notes set aside. I have a Word document open where I plan out every single thing I'm going to say, and then I read it off as naturally as possible when I'm recording.
It's very natural. It is very natural. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because there's times where I'll get to a paragraph. I'm like, this is the clunkiest thing I've ever written. How am I going to read this in a natural way?
Yeah.
But it really just depends on what book I'm talking about. Some books I'm like, you know what, this deserves to be scripted out and read, in a certain way. Others I'm just like, you know what, I can just talk about this off the cuff.
Yeah. When I first started doing I have a role-playing game channel that I do as well. And when I first started doing that, it's a tiny little bit of micro animation in it. But I would script out all of my first couple episodes, and I'd be recording in my closet, and my kids could just hear Dad screaming into the microphone because he messed up a line. It's just the sound my kids got used to.
I love that you put the bloopers reel in that one video. That it was an Elric video. I love that you put the bloopers in. That was awesome.
One of these days, I'm going to decide to just put blooper reels at the end of all my videos, and you guys are going to see the weird process that all of them go through. It's
You totally should. I like putting stingers at the end of our episodes, so you totally need to put your blooper reels afterwards.
I should. As can be expected, my dog ends up in a lot of them. So, and people seem to appreciate that.
Oh,
people love dogs, man.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I'm a people who loves dogs. Although my dog would never cooperate in a video. He's a nut. He would. Yeah. He'd probably bite the camera or something. But anyway, how long does something like that take you to prep? I know the editing probably takes forever, but I know editing's super easy. Well, actually, editing doesn't take long, and it's really easy.
Because anybody can do it.
Well, anybody can do it. I mean, you've got the software right there. Plus, I don't remember ever spending much time at all on editing on this show. But the prep work, how much time if you're new to the show, that was sarcasm and a joke, because Paul does all of the editing. And so the joke is, that I said, I think it's easy because I don't do it. And of course it's easy for me.
Yeah.
The more you know.
I'm also the commenter on the YouTube channel. That's me typically.
Gotcha. Okay.
But thanks for taking credit for that.
When I first started writing it, I'm like, wait, there's two of us. So I'd have to write everything in the we, After a while, I just gave up.
But anyway, how long does it take to prep? Like hours and hours, or days and days, or?
The prep work it's usually pretty easy. It really is just the editing takes the longest. There are some videos that took ridiculously long amounts of time to film for whatever reason. anytime I try to do my monthly wrap-up videos, I cannot get those down in like one take. I have to sit there for like 2 or 3 hours, and that'll, boil down to a 15-minute video.
Nice.
But I don't know. It just, some of them really take a lot out of me for whatever reason. I think it's just because with those in particular, I have to remember everything that I read, the exact points I wanted to make about them. And yeah, it just takes a lot of brain power, and I'm constantly flubbing my lines and having to re-record. Yeah. So yeah.
So when you're reading along, you're reading your book or your short story or whatever it is you're reading, do you like keep notes, or do you like wait till the end, hope you remember what it is you wanted to talk about in the story?
I don't usually keep notes. I have this, my memory works in a really weird way where if I get to the end of a book and I really enjoyed talking about it, or at the very least, if there was something I knew that I wanted to talk about with other people, it's going to stick in my brain until I get it out there. And after that, I totally forget what happened. So I'm glad that I'm recording these things. So they're out there for posterity's sake.
Yeah.
I can relate.
I was just curious about that because I found myself, like recently, I read one of the Bernard Cornwell, the Sharp books, and because it's something I don't normally read, and I wanted to do a report on it and kind of get Steve into them because that's part of my mission in life. And all this great stuff was happening, and I'm like, I remember that. Because I don't want to stop, because I'll lose that flow. And then I got to go back and I got to find the parts that I remember, the things I'm looking for to make it, to kind of hopefully write it down, before I tell them about it.
It's one of the great things about the Kindle is you can tap, and now I find myself, I'll be reading a book, I'll be sitting there reading, and I'll be like, oh, wait a minute. It's not highlighting.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you recognize that. I picked that up.
Yeah.
I was just walking down the street in Indianapolis the other day, and there was just a cart on the street, on the sidewalk that said free books. And I took a picture and sent it to Paul, and he's like, what's that one? Grab it.
Yeah. I just zoom in real close and look for something that looks like an old book.
Yeah. And it was 60 cents new. So.
Oh, well.
So I saved 60 cents by waiting until it became free.
There you go.
You play D&D, correct? And probably other role-playing games?
Yes, it mostly, I played a lot of D&D. I got started with 3rd edition. And to be fair, I didn't get started with it until like my early 20s. And by then, 5th edition was already out. Yeah. I knew about like role-playing games and stuff because I had grown up reading the Lone Wolf books by John Deaver.
Okay.
Which are like some solo role-playing game books. And so I knew about the concept, and I knew that like there was a related kind of thing, this mystical thing called D&D that all the really nerdy guys played. And
I'm not that nerdy. I'm only reading a book about it.
Yeah, exactly. but that was the thing. I was like, man, I want to see what that stuff is like. And it wasn't until I was around my early 20s where a friend of mine was like, hey, I just got back into playing D&D. Would you want to come over to my house with a bunch of the guys and try it out? And I jumped on that. I was like, yes, that sounds awesome. And so the first couple games of D&D I played were 3.5.
Okay.
I got into 5th edition from there, played that for a while, and then decided, I kind of hate 5th edition. And so for the past several years, I've really only played like retro clones. I mentioned earlier, Old School Essentials. I love this book so much. It's basic D&D, but under a different like name and slightly different simplified rules.
Yeah, very simplified, very organized.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and I played a little bit of Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is a very fun game.
Yeah.
But
we play a variety of them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like wacky rules you can use in that game. I haven't really ventured out too much into other games though. I know a lot of people love things like Vampire the Masquerade, Call of Cthulhu. I've wanted to play Call of Cthulhu just because it's a Lovecraft centric RPG. And I love that stuff, but I've never really gone outside the basic like high fantasy style role playing games.
Right. So you're familiar then with the Appendix N?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those who aren't, what the Appendix N was way back in the day. the guys that created D&D put together their Dungeon Master's Guide, which has like a crap ton of appendices in the back of it. One of them, Appendix N, is like a list of the inspirational material that essentially led to the creation of this game. And it lists everything from Tolkien to Howard to Lovecraft to even John Bellairs and Jack Vance get nods.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the stuff that inspired the game. So my question is, what is your Appendix N, or do you even have one? What would you put in it?
I do. I had to think about it a little bit, but I did narrow it down to a few books. I feel like this is kind of the cop-out answer, but it is the one that is most applicable. And it has to be Lord of the Rings.
Oh, sure.
That's the first and foremost. I feel like especially the Moria sequence from Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, yes.
That's inspired like half of the dungeon crawls that I've.
It's the absolute dungeon crawl. The first book in that series is the layout for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
The quest, the town, the dungeon crawl, the final boss battle, all that is all in that first book.
Oh yeah, and I love how because the thing is I've heard stories about how Gary Gygax himself was not that fond of Lord of the Rings. He was much more into Conan and Elric and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but all of his friends who played war games with him were like,
"Yep.
Lord of the Rings is the real deal. This is the next big thing." And he was like, "Okay, fine. We'll incorporate that kind of stuff into the game."
Yeah. That's why.
But yeah, it works perfectly. This is where you get, the classic adventuring party, elves, dwarves, rangers, warriors, wizards.
Mm-hmm.
That's all from Lord of the Rings. And so, yeah, it's, classic bit of inspiration. It also just happens to be my favorite book of all time. So,
well, there you go. That's win-win.
Yep.
Steve's a big fan.
Here's how clueless I am. I'll tell you how clueless I am. And this spans my entire life, by the way. We played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons when we were kids in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I loved playing. And then I discovered The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And it was years before I made the connection. That's how, I don't know how my brain works, but for some reason it didn't go, oh, I wonder if there's any connection between Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings. And it's my favorite book too. I read it completely all the way through probably every year or two, maybe every 2 or 3 years. I love it. It's one of my comfort books. Some people binge The Office. I go back and read that and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But
it's
also
about time for me to read
it again.
Too, so.
I also binged The Office and lately King of the Hill, which we were talking about before you joined. But dang it, Bobby. Dang it, Frodo.
God dang it, Frodo.
Dang it, Frodo.
That Hobbit's not right.
Hobbit's not right. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. But probably second to Lord of the Rings. Second only, just because I have so many ideas. I got so many ideas from this, and I've incorporated into various campaigns and stuff. Is we mentioned earlier H.P. Lovecraft, part of the original Appendix N. But I've taken so many elements from his horror stories and used them for like the settings for different campaigns that I've run. In particular, the story Color Out of Space, which if the folks at home don't know what that story is, basically some alien presence takes over this little tiny farm in New England, and everything around it just becomes. It basically becomes assimilated into this presence that has landed in a well on that property. And so I kind of use that for a big campaign that my friends and I went through when I first started DMing, where everyone was like turning into slimes because there was like this slime god that was living in a temple at the center of this village. And so everything around it was slowly turning into slime, and they had to figure out a way to banish this thing so that everyone could be turned back to their original forms. There are so many like weird concepts in this book. Even though it's not necessarily like high fantasy, I find it very conducive to like setting up dungeons and setting up campaign settings, because it's just so many weird, cool ideas that he came up with.
Yeah. Yeah, like my brain is not braining this morning. The uh, the one where the guy goes to the castle that's on the hill with the thunder and the lightning and the horror on the mound. I think that is no, or the something beneath.
Oh no, what is that one? That's it is
We're so good at this.
The lurking fear. The lurking
Yeah,
fear.
yeah, that is an absolute dungeon crawl. You
Yes,
just
it is.
if you want to play it in fantasy, it works perfectly as a
Mhm.
fantasy. Or if you want to play it as it works in any era actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's an
It does.
absolute. There's so much that you could use. See, so what I did was I got so inspired I created Under a Gibbous Moon, which is it's a horror based version of Dungeons and Dragons that me and my
Nice.
friends played just for fun. These are the books I made, so we had rule books.
I love that you don't miss a chance for a plug. That's great. There'll be a link down below if you'd like your own copy.
Well, to be fair, this one is not available. This one is still being tested.
Limited
Oh, okay.
edition, only available in limited quantities.
Yeah, 3.
3.
Yes, we have 3 copies of it.
I'm imagining they provide inspiration for the books that you author. Right?
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No. Tolkien is one of those things where it's like, no matter how far you get in the realm of fantasy, you're always going to go back to him at some point. You know, as much as I have given Brandon Sanderson a hard time in the past, he has stated multiple times, it's like, even though I'm not a huge Tolkien fan, I owe him everything because like I'm building off of the things that he started. So
yeah.
You can't be a fantasy writer without being influenced by him just a little bit, I found.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Grammaticus's video on the Sword of Shannara and how without it, you know, it's obviously a ripoff of Tolkien, but without it, none of this would be here.
Oh yeah, totally.
Or very little of it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it gave epic fantasy that shot me arm that it needed.
Yeah.
And it for better and for worse, it has, you know, it's blown up in some really big ways.
Yeah.
To kind of deviating though from like the classics though, I have something that I guess people my age would call kind of a modern classic, which is actually a manga, which is Berserk by Kentaro Miura.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't love this series. It's a very dark, brutal, depressing kind of series. And it doesn't help that the original author died not that long ago without finishing it.
Oh.
A friend of his is working on it, but the chapters are coming out very slowly, and it's still up in the air whether it's ever going to get finished or not.
Mm-hmm.
But the concepts in this story are unbelievably good. Like, even when I don't like the characters or the actual story that's being told, the concepts just blow my mind. It's essentially starts off as the story of a mercenary who is, we don't know what he's after at first. He's just wandering around the countryside killing demons. He has it out for this particular faction of demons that are terrorizing people. And he's killing them in horrendous ways.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly gory, dark fantasy series.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But I've taken so many elements from story arcs in this manga. There are these big, like, kind of chief demons called the Apostles that like essentially they're human beings by day, but at night or whenever they need to get down to business, they turn into these huge Lovecraftian monstrosities and just destroy everything in their path. And so those are the things that this one character, Guts, his name is Guts, by the way. I think that's amazing.
Guts.
Those are the things that he has to fight against and attempt to kill throughout the series. And so I've based so many boss monsters at the end of dungeons off of villains from this series. It's so gnarly.
Yeah. Speaking of Lovecraft and manga, have you seen the big Mountains of Madness?
Yes. I have yet to read that, but I've seen it. It looks amazing.
It's breathtaking. It's so... Originally, originally I had like the small manga size, and
Mhm.
I was so mad at it because I'm like, this is such a waste of all this beautiful artwork. And then I
Mm,
found out no, there's like a big version of it. I'm like,
yeah.
oh well, that makes more sense. But
Yeah.
it's so beautiful.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the illustrated version from illustrator Paul E. Schultz.
Uh, hang on. You mean this one?
Yes, that one.
Oh my
No, no,
gosh.
not this one. Which, by the way, is available down below.
We're plugging all kinds of stuff today.
That's right.
Love it.
Also, Nesh and other necromancies also available.
Yes.
Oh yes. We'll have all the links below.
I'm sure Nesh is going to be great, but I'm really looking forward to the other necromancies.
The other necromancies are fun.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff that I have as sort of like I guess what do you want to call it? Like the opening act, the supporting act for Nesh, I guess.
Ah,
Now,
sidekicks.
Yeah.
what's the book that Jeff just reviewed
Oh.
of
Um.
yours? It's your short
Oh.
story.
Oh. Sand and Steel.
Yeah, Sand and
That
Steel.
was that was a little tiny collection of just 5 sword and sorcery stories I put together a while ago. Yeah, that's so one of the stories in that collection, Mage Killer, features my character Visago, and there are actually 2 other Visago stories in this collection, Nesh and
Mhm.
other necromancies. So he makes a reappearance. Eventually, I'll write a novel about him someday. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, now is that available in physical copy or just like ebook or whatever?
No, it's in paperback right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Because after I watched his review, I'm like, because I didn't really know what it was. I knew you were a writer as well, because you know that you've talked about it and the guys have talked about it. And then Jeff, who his reviews are so good, he's just so kind of casual about it. I'm like, I'm gonna have to pick that up, but I'm kind of biased to physical media.
Hmm.
So now
Understandable.
that that's the thing, I'm definitely gonna pick it up. I'll follow the link below and pick up a copy.
Nice. So I also something that's fairly D&D adjacent. I
Mhm.
never played Warhammer. I've
Mhm.
never played the game at all. I was fascinated with it as a kid because I knew these 2 guys who were a little older than me. I went over to their house sometime and they had a huge Warhammer collection. They had
Mhm.
this giant castle with all the minis on top of it. That was like their gaming table. And they would show me the rule books, and I would pore over these things and just look at the illustrations and be amazed at all the gnarly art in there. And so, of course, when I grew up and could, afford to buy things, I bought Warhammer minis. I never played the game, but I painted quite a few of them in my
Mm.
time.
Mhm.
And I have here one of these setting rule books, whatever you want to call it. It's not really a
Yeah.
rule book. It's a setting book for Warhammer Realms of Chaos,
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
which the whole backstory for like the Chaos Gods and the Warhammer universe.
Mhm.
I have definitely stolen some things from that to put into my games, which is funny because they're actually concepts that are stolen from Michael Moorcock. Ironically enough.
Hey, man, everybody steals from everybody. It's just a
Yep,
fact.
it's unavoidable. Yeah, once you're inspired by something, it's just. But oh my gosh, you can't not look at that and not
Nice.
get ideas of just these sprawling nightmare escapes that make you think I want to put a team of players through that. I want them to go to whatever this thing is up here. I want them to go to that and fight whatever is in there.
Yeah,
Right?
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
They
I did
probably won't make it back though.
They probably won't. No, they'll probably get what they call a total party kill. But
Yes.
but yeah, I did a campaign that sadly didn't really go anywhere a few years back. It was actually during the pandemic. Some of my friends tried to play online with me. I did a campaign where essentially the Chaos Gods from the Warhammer universe had taken over this little island. And so each section of the island was separated into different territories, each one controlled by one of the Chaos Gods. And the players were a group of mercenaries that had been sent to this island to investigate what's going on. And what they have to do is essentially wage war against these gods and take the island back for the people that live there. And it was a cool concept. I put a lot of work into it, and unfortunately, I think we only got like 3 or 4 games out of it, and then, as a lot of D&D, as a lot of campaigns tend to go, it just kind of fizzled, and people were giving me excuses and saying they couldn't make it. And I think the low point came where it was just me and one other guy, and so I'm DMing. He's the only player character available. And at one point, he just straight up told me, dude, this isn't that much fun. Can I bail out? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And that was it.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast.
I attacked myself with the +2 dagger.
I threw myself off a cliff.
You roll a natural 1, you miss.
Oh, man. We even tried playing online for a while because Paul and I don't live in the same town. So during the pandemic, we were trying to get games going with groups online and stuff. It's not quite the same. I'm sure there's better, like everything else. I'm sure there's better technology to make it kind of feel better, work better. But man, we used to play a lot back in the day, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I liked playing those online games for a little bit. It's just, I'm one of those people who just needs the physical stuff. I want to have, a map with minis, with terrain and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's part, again, this isn't a role-playing game channel. This is a book channel. But
you might have to cross-post on Doomed Wizard.
either that, or I'll invite Tim to be on that. There's just something about the early on playing with minis and stuff, and it just kept going. It's part of it. It's fun to move little icons around on your screen, but not as much fun as rolling dice and moving little dudes and stuff. Yeah.
Now, I've got something that I guarantee no one watching has heard of this. But this was something that I read as a kid, and once I got around to running D&D campaigns, I noticed that I'd taken some elements from this story and was like, oh, that's interesting. That stuck with me for a lot longer than I thought. This is a book called The Door Within by Mr. Wayne Thomas Batson. He is actually he's a local author. He's from Baltimore as well. And I remember reading his books as a kid. They are essentially how am I going to put this? They're like Chronicles of Narnia mixed with World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Like imagine like this war-torn, like stylized high fantasy setting, but with like the portal fantasy elements and the Christian allegory of the Chronicles of Narnia. That's essentially what the Door Within series is. And so as a kid and as someone who grew up in a very conservative Christian household, these books were given to me. I can't remember when. I must have been like 8 or 9 years old, but they were given to me, and I was told, read these. They're by this this Christian teacher who lives in our area. And I just devoured these books. There was one particular scene in this first book in the trilogy where the main character goes down into a literal dungeon, and there's this sprawling maze underground, and he's told, you have to make it through this maze and find, I can't remember what he's looking for. It's been ages since I've read this, but you have to make it through this maze. And there is this giant serpent living in the maze who will try to kill you and eat you. Now, keep in mind, the main character is this 14-year-old kid who's been yanked out of our world and put into this crazy high fantasy realm. And he's told, you have to make it through this maze without getting eaten by this giant multi-legged dragon serpent thing. And so I can't tell you how many scenarios I've written where my characters have to make it through a maze and are being chased by some giant ungodly monster with a bunch of mouths and legs and orifices.
Yep. That's awesome.
You will be tempted 3 times. And so the character who named themselves Eve, you might want to rethink that name just for this particular dungeon. Because Eve, Eve never wins.
Don't last long.
Yeah. That's hilarious. The Door Within. Man, I'm glad I didn't read that when I was little. I was raised in a really fundamentalist, like evangelical type. We didn't call it that back then, but like a full gospel, like Southern Christian household. And if they had me read that, like I was already scared to death. Right?
Yeah.
I would have been like, that would have been it for me. I'd have been like, no. I'd like be walking around wearing armor. Stevie Allen, you take that armor off. The giant snake's gonna kill me.
Yeah. The other funny thing is, it's even for as much of like a weird little known novel as this is, it stuck with me even with my writing and stuff. I've written so many short stories. There's a short story in Nesh and Other Necromancies that has a character running through a maze being chased by some ungodly horror that he doesn't want to run into. Yeah. And I'm like, man, something about this story really stuck in my cortex. I don't know.
What is it? Raymond Chandler, I think it was, had the joke about when in doubt, have somebody come in the room with a gun.
Chekhov's
when
gun.
in doubt, you're in a maze and there's a multi-legged monster chasing you.
And somebody walks out with a gun. So we have to add to the list of Paul's philosophy on books. Everybody steals from everybody, and everything is Chekhov's everything.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Chekhov's everything. It's a good one.
If you don't escape the snake, it will kill you like a duck. I got to keep putting these in there. Together. I have to get a running joke going. I got to figure out which one's going to work. So I have to put them all in every episode.
Right. And like you said before, then everyone will go back and watch all the other episodes.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to go get
up.
If you want to get the reference, Superfan James, if you're watching, you're going to have to catalog all these references. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus, you never know if a joke's going to land until it takes off. You got to try it. So
I'm going to add that one. You never know if a joke's going to land until it takes off.
I didn't invent that one.
Oh, okay.
The last one that I had on the list, or in the pile, I should say, is something that I've been working on for a future campaign. Who knows if it'll ever pan out. Mm-hmm. But there is a Paul Anderson novel called The High Crusade.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked about this a few times on my channel. I've never done like a proper review on it, but I've talked about it a few times. It has become one of my favorite science fiction novels. Because it essentially it takes place in the 14th century, which is already one of my favorite historical time periods.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that on like the video you made just before this one.
Yep.
About that being your favorite period. I'm like, well, that's specific.
Yep. For whatever reason, anytime it gets medieval, I'm like, okay, does it take place in the 14th century? I don't know why that's the sweet spot. But this alien spacecraft lands outside this little tiny village in England in like 1360 something. I can't remember the exact date. The aliens come out and they're all ready to just take over Earth, and one of them just gets immediately killed. This group of soldiers swarm it. They hit it with a spear, kill it instantly, and then the soldiers take over the spaceship. They go inside, wipe out all the aliens, and take the spaceship for themselves. And the knight who's in charge of this little hamlet decides that he's going to go on a conquest, because before the ship arrived, he was putting together a war band to go join the war against France. And then after that, he was like, we're going to go straight to the Middle East and take our place in the Crusades.
Wow.
So he had already planned out this whole thing. And then these aliens attack, and he's like, you know what? Screw all of that. We're going to steal this giant metal ship that they came in. We're going to go up to wherever they came from, and we're going to take over whatever world they come from.
Right.
And so
those are some high aspirations.
The entire novel is about the soldiers from this little hamlet going through space and essentially creating an intergalactic empire by defeating these aliens civilizations one by one. And so I'm trying so hard to get this into like a D&D campaign. Again, I don't know if it's ever going to take off. I don't know if anyone will ever play it with me, but I think it would be a hilarious idea for a concept for a campaign.
It's the first one. It's the first one in the Appendix N.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
What? I did not know that.
Well, you were talking about it. I'm like, I was gonna ask you when that came out because I'm like because old school D&D has a game called what is it, the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks,
Okay.
and that's where these your fantasy realm finds this crashed spaceship, and I'm like, that sounds familiar. So I checked out. Well, I guess I don't gotta ask when it came out because obviously it predates Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I didn't know it was one of the first one. I remember reading Paul Anderson's name in that list. I thought it just mentioned Three Hearts and Three Lions, which, by the way, that book, Three Hearts and Three Lions, is great, and it is basically D&D the book. I think Gary Gygax got more ideas for D&D from that than he ever did from Lord of the Rings.
Well, he's got Three Hearts and Three Lions, The High Crusade, and The Broken Sword by Anderson, all listed.
That's interesting because I knew Broken Sword was part of it. I knew Three Hearts and Three Lions, but I mean, I could see it. Like, there's a lot of like, I mean, it's a fantasy science. It's a science fiction fantasy. It's it's doesn't really have any magic or anything, but it's knights in armor fighting aliens with laser cannons and stuff.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Might as well be magic at that point.
Yeah, might as well. That's what I mean. That's what they think. The entire time they're fighting these aliens, they're like, well, these are clearly demons from another world that we have to conquer. Yeah. And their weapons are, the magic from hell that's been summoned against us because we're good Christian soldiers.
Yeah. I like Cain, right? Solomon Cain. Anything I don't understand must be of the devil.
Exactly.
Yes.
I do love how it even goes back to the 14th century, right? Back to the 14th century, how whenever aliens invade, there is a rule that aliens cannot invade unless whatever is the state-of-the-art military technology at the time at least has a chance against them, right?
Right.
Whether it's the 14th century or the latest War of the Worlds, right? Also, the 14th century, I was just thinking, like, well, I wonder why that would be, like, why the 14th century? And then it occurred to me, like, that's where you go from the Middle Ages, the dark mists of time and superstition and all this, into, say, the 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, when you get the age of exploration and reason and the printing press and all that stuff. So that's an interesting, like, it's about as late as you can get and still really be in the Middle Ages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's as late as you can get where there's still some kind of like mysticism around everything. And our technology hasn't gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we understand more or less how the world works and how we can build things to help us live in a different way. Whereas, in everything before that is just,
we probably should, for the sake of historical accuracy, because this show is nothing if not historically accurate.
Of course,
we should say the latest you can get after the fall of the Roman Empire, and and not counting the Far East. Because they were already pretty far ahead. But anyway,
as far as us dumb white guys are concerned,
you got it. Post Roman Empire, pre-Age of Reason, pre-Newton.
It's as far back as you can go. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Yeah, right. All the asterisks. With all the asterisks in there.
Right.
Paul will put all the asterisks down below.
Of course, yeah. So the last thing, obviously. A lot of people that are, who know my channel know that Robert E. Howard is my guy. One of my favorite authors. This book in particular, The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian, is, without Lord of the Rings, it is my favorite book of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, this has some of his best Conan stories. The first like dozen or so Conan stories is really where it's at, in my opinion. And the one that inspired me most for Dungeons and Dragons was a story that was originally published as The Slithering Shadow, but it has since been referred to as Zuthal of the Dusk.
Okay, which, I'm pretty sure I've read it. I've read just about everything.
Yeah, it was the Zuthal of the Dusk was, I believe, the title that Howard wanted to go with, and then whenever this got published in Weird Tales, originally his editors were like, "No, change it to The Slithering Shadow. That's a more salacious sounding."
Yeah, that's a great title, honestly.
It is. But that story in particular makes like the perfect little, what you'd call a 3-room dungeon.
Yeah.
Where, you have a starting area, you have the area where all the adventures and traps and treasure and stuff go down. And then you have the room with the boss battle.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect. There's trap
Cool.
doors, there's hidden passageways.
Yeah.
There's all these really random encounters that Conan bumps into, and of course there's a big slimy monster at the end of it that serves as the boss. So
Nice.
and I ran that entire story as just a one-shot campaign.
Yeah.
Where all of the players died, by the way. Not a single player character was spared in that one-shot campaign.
Is it like, was I running a Howard story or a Clark Ashton Smith story?
I know, right?
Yeah, I think it was you and I that were talking in somebody's video about the God in the Bowl is like a perfect 5-room dungeon.
That one too.
Yeah, it's so good.
So your channel, pretty successful. If you look at, I don't know how people measure these things, but you look at subscribers, you look at views, that kind of thing, comments, pretty successful. Is it more successful than you thought it would be? Less successful? You really want more people watching, or how do you view those things?
Well, I never thought it'd really get off the ground. Like I said, when I started doing it, it was just so I could have a way to talk about books that no one else was talking about that I knew of. And I think in the back of my head, I was like, oh, this would be awesome if it blew up and a bunch of people were watching. But I didn't expect it to get off the ground within a year, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
All it took was one video where I was reviewing the Hawkmoon series, and I called it the original Warhammer 40K. It is currently still the most viewed video. I think it's sitting at 80K views right now, or something like that.
Okay, make a note. We have to call one of our videos the original Warhammer 40K.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what I'll call this video.
And it has to be
because you mentioned it.
There we go. Now you're thinking.
Can I borrow your thumbnail?
That one took off,
wild.
and I don't know. People were really interested in what I had to say after that for some reason. To be fair, there were a lot of people in the comments for that video who hated my guts, and I understand why, because the Warhammer fans are a very specific kind of brood. So
yes,
yeah.
True.
But no, it's been really cool. I consider it a huge success just to know that like there are a few hundred people who are going to watch the videos every time I upload them.
Yeah.
And it's got me into connections with a bunch of other people. I just went to Pulp Fest in August, bumped into a bunch of my friends from YouTube there. We hung out and just went book shopping for 3 days. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened if I, didn't start talking about, sword and sorcery books that no one has heard of.
Well, there you go. Life lesson, kids.
I think it's a nice little community going here. And when we were doing our podcast, we used to say we're not looking for thousands of listeners. We don't have any delusions of grandeur, but it would be nice if there were people like a few dozen, 100 or so, who, if we didn't post in a week or two, they'd like miss it. And they'd be like, oh, why haven't you guys posted? I want to see what you're talking about these days. And you certainly have that. And it's clear why. I mean, it wasn't just the name. I joke. It wasn't just the name of the video. It's like it was good content, right? You got the Warhammer folks coming over, and if you get them arguing, then you've struck a chord and you're making good content, right? And you continue to make good content. And I would say to everyone watching, if you haven't already, go check out Secret Fire Books. Get yourself a copy of Nesh and Other Necromancies. That's one book. I know it sounds like two, but that's just one book. And you should go get it. But it's a bunch of little books within the book.
Exactly.
So anything worth explaining is worth over-explaining. That's what I always say. In the meantime, I'm Steve.
I'm Paul.
I'm Tim.
And the next time you're looking for something to read, say it.
Stack your shelf.
Man, you can just see in the video we made with Nick his excitement. He wants to yell, "Check yourself!" So
And I
bad.
didn't realize it. I wasn't looking. I was blacked out, like looking over there somewhere.
Oh,